I would say, I am 30 years old and I'm never getting older. I grew up in Connecticut. Now I live in New York. I'm a
Yeah.
nurse and I am a queer person, but I identify as a lesbian and I have
Hmm.
since pretty much since the end of high school. I kind of knew, but no like formal coming out until I was at GW. Thank you, GW, for providing me a great space to do that.
Hmm.
And now being a Survivor player is another big part of my identity. And as you were saying, Evie, like, obviously, I'm very grateful for my edit. I feel like they gave me a lot of strategy in explaining my position in the game and, to make the blind side a whole moment. But we didn't really get any of my backstory, which I thought was such a huge reason why I was cast. And it was important to me to, represent for, queer women, for lesbians, for nurses. And so I always wished that more of that made the show because it was so much, I feel like, part of my casting journey, a part of how I played the game. And just like, you just want people to understand who you are in totality, not just in this vacuum. So, I'm grateful for the strategy edit, but I do wish more of that story, especially like my queerness, was highlighted on the show. Especially my season had three queer women and not much was
Yeah.
said about it. So it's like progress and not at the same time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it's interesting because I mean, obviously, Evie, you've had so many conversations with people. We've had a lot of conversations with people about queerness and how it's represented or not represented on Survivor. But obviously, very different for you, Evie, in terms of like the story they kind of told or showcased. And yet, I'm sure there's so much they didn't showcase. Like, I'm curious how what Kellie said lands with you, and
Yeah.
just where it connects or doesn't connect.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think, I relate also with what you said, especially what you said, Kelly, of like, I'm really happy with my edit, but, right? Like, I feel like someone who I really can't complain. Like, I really feel like we really got to see a lot of what I was doing on the island. And I feel like they really, really, really no complaints for what they can do in 45 minutes of television, but like, that's never going to be you. And I mean, honestly,
Mhm.
in the now times, the thing that is the weirdest for me is just that like, I have changed since Survivor and I use different
Yeah.
pronouns and stuff. And like,
Right.
that is honestly pretty jarring for me to watch back. No one's fault, but like, that's just how it
Of
is.
course. Yeah.
But I do think it's funny, like, I went out there, I wore rainbow underwear. I was like so nervous that like, I was like, it has to be part of my story, but in retrospect, I'm like, look at me. There's no other way to tell my story. And I think maybe, someone like you, Kelly, who maybe, can, quote unquote, pass as straight,
Yeah.
in the world, they were able to kind of, erase
Mm.
that more than would be possible with other people, and it's a huge shame, and that happens in the world, and it happened on Survivor, and that freaking sucks. All this time, it's like, it's so true. If you don't have an example that seems like you, it's so hard to imagine it being you. Like, I feel like for me, in high school, the only people in my school that like, there was just like like some of the goth girls, like they're lesbians. And I was like, well, I'm not goth. I don't know. None of that seems like
Right.
me. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it is really, really, you're given, 10 million examples of people that look like you who are straight, or examples of people that, look like you, but you don't want to look like that, but you don't know what you can look like. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's really hard to like expand your imagination beyond what you actually have examples
Especially
of. So,
when you're like, I was living in like a small, I mean, Connecticut's very liberal, right? But it's like,
Yeah. Right.
I lived in this super small town with like, I had never met a lesbian in my life that I was aware of. I'm sure I have, but like I
Mhm.
at that time, so it was like literally whatever was on TV was it, and it was like mainstream television. Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't like popping on the L word because I didn't even know it existed. And so
right,
it's just like the
totally.
bubble that you're in. It's so interesting. But like I always think about that moment where I was like, there's no way. And I'm like, this is how like silly things, like, I don't know. I'm so grateful that so much progress has been made both in the media and just sort of like in society. Because I imagine it would just be such a different experience nowadays than like just back, than I went back then in my day.
Yeah, 100%.
Like thinking about the Survivor fandom,
Mhm.
obviously your queerness wasn't necessarily super visible on the
Yeah.
show, but there are so many fans who are aware of just you and Gabby and your queerness and all that now. Like, are there conversations that you have where people coming up to you to like let you know what that representation means? I'm so curious.
Yeah,
what your
totally. I mean, every
experience with the
time
fans.
that's like my favorite thing. If anyone comes up to me and like talks about that, like nothing like touches me more. I've had a few like, especially like I've had like queer women nurses reach out to me like over DM, which is like so awesome. Just like my little niche. And you know, I've had like younger girls like send me messages being like, you know, I'm not out to my family, but like I saw that you were queer. Like this, I really felt seen and by you. Like that is like I could tear up like literally why I did Survivor. So
I love that.
I'm emotional.
I love that.
Me too.
That really is the best part. And I really just want to affirm also that like it freaking sucks that wasn't shown on the show, but it is still having a major impact on so many people. You know, like you being on the show and people like having, you know, seeing you on social media and everything, like knowing you're lesbian. It really does fucking matter.
I wish it was on there, you know. But.
Yeah. To have you know, a multiple representation where you can have, you know, like a white lesbian, you know, and other players with different identities and actually get to like see that full spectrum. So it's not just like this is what a queer person.
This is the token one person on the season who's the gay, you know. That's cool. And I like that, you know, I think I said it before, it's like it's kind of nice that doesn't have to be the whole story, right? But at the same time, I'm like, oh, this was like kind of special. Like me and Couture are on the same tribe together. Like how many times have you had two queer women on a tribe together? Like just, you know, and Sabaya was such a huge pre-merge character, and for that not to be talked about either, but it, you know, there's only, even with 90 minutes, there's only so much time. And so I do get it, but it was kind of historic. So I wish that it was highlighted a little more, but you know, we're trying to keep everyone in the know.
Maybe not since Survivor Vanuatu, maybe like literally, possibly that there's been two queer women on the tribe. Yeah. So how was that a big part of your and Couture's relationship out there? Was that stuff something you were talking about?
I mean, I think it's certainly like I remember talking to Couture about this earlier, and you know, we talked to her about it too. But like I told my tribe like immediately, you know, we're doing introductions, and I was like, I'm engaged, like my girlfriend, which makes it so easy to come out, right? Because it's so hard to come. It's just like having to come out in like different spaces. Like every time you change a job, it's just scary and like difficult and like adds a layer of complexity. So it does the same thing in Survivor. I wasn't like super concerned that I was going into any space where I would experience any sort of like discrimination or anything, but you know, it's still something that has to be said. And I was like, I want to be myself. Like I was all about authenticity in terms of like for the game and also in life. And so I said that, and Couture was next to me. She was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I'm queer too. And, blah, blah. And that was like, I remember talking with her, and she's like, that just made it so easy because she wasn't in a relationship at the time. And so for her to just be like, me too. And like, that conversation we had, it's another instance where it's like, it is hard to come out, and like, it would be hard for her to just sort of like maybe say that without having like an easy in during those introductions. And so I think that just made it easier for both of us, like right off the bat, to just not have to like think about this as something that could be like a problem or something that had to be revealed later on in like a dramatic sense. It just like became the norm, and everybody knew, and it was easy. So, you know, anything, you know, I am a gamer, so anything I could use to like relate to people, I certainly will. And so definitely, I'm sure that was helpful for our like early stages of relationship, but I don't think like it like super influenced how things went like long term. But I do think it was helpful for both of us to just, you know, feel more comfortable in those like first few days, which can be difficult and awkward.
You go from there to actually being friends with Parvati, the true Survivor dream.
It is, living the dream. She's the best. I really, she's been such a like guiding light for me through all of this, you know, all the ups and downs of being on reality TV. So I'm eternally grateful to her. So.
I was gonna say, I want to ask, and I feel like you've talked about this. How did you become friends? I swear I just saw something about this, but on this podcast of queer iconotry, I figured I'd ask for the record.
Sure, yeah, I did talk about it. I had not talked about it until very recently, because I was like, oh, you know, I'm trying to abide by the rules, as blurry as they are these days. So no shade, but so
no shade, but
it's confusing.
Anyway, circling back, so my fiance, she works in like brand management. She does like Instagram, high level stuff, but also would do like Instagram ads or whatever. And she was working for a company that had done like work with Parvati before, like ads for they're in Target or whatever. And so they had a little bit of like a rapport, and they had been on Zooms together and stuff. And then once I got very deep into casting, somehow Parvati became aware of this information. And I was out in LA actually when I got engaged. Funnily, the day before was the first day I met.
Congratulations.
She
belated congratulations.
Oh, thank you. It's been super delayed thanks to Survivor. And so we met up when I was in LA, and we just sort of like immediately hit it off. I think we have like some similarities. And we had like a great time. We walked down Abercrombie, got coffee, helped me with my wardrobe. And ever since then we've just been like super close. Like, I don't know, it's just one of those like organic, like totally works things. And then I got to be her little queer guide when she was starting up with May, which is super cute. So that is the tea that everyone has been wondering about. But so it's not that crazy. It was pretty organic.
Yeah.
No, it's so special. And it's so cool. Like, I do think that is a particular type of queer relationship that people who haven't experienced it might not know about, of like, the elder queer, meaning not in age, but in
I know she's
outness.
like 10 years older than me.
Yeah, exactly. But like, helping a person like through that and like guide and like just hold their hand a little bit through that. I think like most of us are, if we're lucky, have someone in our life who played that role. And that's really freaking special that you could do that for a Survivor queen. So that's special.
I know. I'm honored.
Okay. I have a question. This is airing. Obviously, it's Pride Month, and something I like to know about during Pride Month is some queer love stories. So, Kelly, can you tell us more about Gabby? What's the proposal situation? Like,
of course. I will. Well, Gabby and I have been together for a very long time. Almost 9 years. Long time.
Wow.
So we met in high school, actually.
Wow.
When we were 17.
What?
Again, I'm just going to tell the story. Hopefully I'm not going to get in trouble for this, but we actually met in line to meet Naya Rivera.
What? No way! You're really bringing all your
it's all coming full circle.
Yeah,
and I told this on the island, and it was a real hit of a story, so I totally thought I was going to make it, and I'm still mad. But anyway, so we were like 17, like going to meet Naya Rivera, like who was in line to meet Naya Rivera? You know what I mean?
Anyway, just so totally straight people.
Totally straight.
100%.
I was at AT&T in Edgewater, New Jersey. It's so weird.
She was signing autographs in AT&T.
I don't know.
Edgewater, New Jersey.
I have no idea why. But so we were there, and we met, and like we like exchanged like Facebook, whatever. And we had like a little like, texting thing, but then we went off to different colleges, and we didn't even like say that we were gay. You know what I mean? We were both like, still, like in the closet and stuff. And so we had like a little bit of like a thing over text. And when I came home for my freshman year, like first winter break, she went up to college in New York, and I went down to DC. And then, it's sort of like, obviously the distance fizzled out. She had a long-term girlfriend in college. I did my thing, and then
did my thing.
I'll tell Matt off.
Yeah, I was gonna say, name names.
No, well, I mean, maybe. And so she just like after towards the end of college, she was just sent me a text one day, and it was like there's someone in my group for a project that made me think of you, blah blah blah.
Oh,
and literally from that text, like we were just again off to the races. So it was my senior year. We were just finishing up. I went to visit her for spring break. We kissed through the car, couldn't even get out of the car. It was cute. And then we've been together ever since. So thank you. I owe a lot to Glee.
Wow. Thank you, Glee. Thank you.
Yeah, but that's our little story. And then engagement, we probably would have gotten engaged way earlier, but obviously I worked during COVID, which was very traumatic for me in New York as a nurse. And so that sort of set things back a little while. And then, so it was 2022, I think we went out to LA. just for like a fun like trip. And we were going to go to Joshua Tree and like San Diego, big trip. And we went to Malibu. We like kind of snuck onto this beach, and Gabby was like super stressed and nervous. And I should have known. I remember like before being like, she was like, we should take cute pictures on the beach and blah, blah, blah. I was like, people are going to think we're getting engaged. Like, if we take pictures. And she's like, I know, I'm such a disappointment, blah, blah, blah. Like really laying it on thick. And then it was like, we were like basically all alone in Malibu, like sunset, gorgeous. Like the photos are so nice. And it was like super romantic and alone, which I wanted. I didn't want an audience because that just stresses me out. And it was really sweet. And then she's been so gracious and amazing about waiting to get married because of Survivor, because that was like while I was in casting for 43, 44, like right at the end. And then again, it was like a whole nother year. So we're getting married next October.
Wow.
Finally. Very excited.
Wow.
So it'll be an event of like, it'll be like almost 10 years. So
breaking news. Wow. Yeah.
That is my story.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful and sweet. I love that. That really is. That's a theme in everyone's engagement story. Like, my partner was being so fucking weird all day.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm like, why? Also, she had like a camera tripod and it had like a attachment to like get it on there, but she had to order like 3 different ones, and she kept ordering them to the hotels we were at. I'm like, you're really committed to this.
Wow.
And now I'm like, Jesus, Kelly, like, how could you not have realized that this was like bizarre? But it was really, it was
I think this exactly possibly reveals some blindside detection problems, Kelly. I think we need to. Sorry.
I know, right? Oh,
how dare you?
I should have known. Yeah. What the hell,
there's
guys?
no way you could have known. There's no way you could have known.
Of course not.
Oh my gosh, no.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah, not a question, but just a reflection from like I feel so thankful that like especially during your season, I was at these different watch parties for RHAP, and I'm like seeing you in action and just like seeing people interact with you and get butterflies going up to you, and I'm like, she's just a human, like she's a person, like you could talk to. Even still, I feel like I see it, and I am just always I don't know, I'm just so amazed and heartened by how much of an impression you left on people. Like regardless of what the show showed, like you are an icon for so many people. And I wish you could be in all of the conversations that like people are like, oh my God, I love Kelly. I want to talk with Kelly. I want to get to know Kelly. Oh my gosh. So nice. I just want to recognize that like we talk about the narrative and how it can be limited, but they did the damn thing, or you did the damn thing, at least in terms of like people walking away loving you from the season. So
that's really been so nice, and I feel crazy every time someone's like nervous or anything to meet me. I'm like, guys, like I'm just hanging out. Like I don't know, I'm not even that good. I got 10th place. No,
10th place because you were so good. They were terrified of you. Come on.
That's
you
real.
too, Evie.
Yeah. I mean, that's right. Middle tier placements because we're scary. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, there is something to that. But
yeah.
I mean, I always say I'd rather go out of threat and go all the way to the end and not win. So go big or go home, baby.
No, that's right. And I like, again, like, not everyone that watches the show knows that Kelly the badass lesbian was taken out for being a threat, but people know that Kelly the badass woman was running her tribe. People were afraid of her, and in a season full of like powerful women, really was like a theme in your season.
Totally,
like, you were definitely a stop along that way. So please, it's known that.
Thank you.
I know, a lot of pressure.
That is a lot of pressure. The thing I always say is just, what the hell, guys? I don't have. That's all I got for closing remarks. I just have shock and despair. But
a classic for a reason.
The classic. But I love this space. I think it's amazing you guys are doing this, and hopefully we'll have so many more queer people to come on from 47 and 48. Looking forward to it. I'll be rooting for them.
Hell yeah.